You think you lost control of your emotions, but what's more terrifying is this: in that 1 second, you quietly chose a path for your life. Imagine it. It's 1 a.m. You're staring at your phone. It's only one word from them, whatever. And yet your chest flips into alarm mode. You start pressing, digging up old fights, sharpening your tone into a blade. Later you regret it. Why am I like this again? But was it really just, my emotions were too big? Or, in that instant, did you automatically jump into a familiar observer position, one that translates every ambiguity into, he doesn't care about me? Now imagine another scene. In a meeting, someone interrupts you, gently, just once. Your face heats up, and a sentence appears immediately: I'm not good enough again. You pretend you're fine, but when you sit back down you start putting yourself on trial. Was I unclear? Do they look down on me? You call it sensitivity, but why does it always end with the same verdict? Why do you keep taking the world's random noise and assembling it into a personalized sentence? And then there's the most hidden moment of all. You're in the kitchen and you suddenly explode at your child over a careless complaint. You're on the street and a stranger's look detonates you. You're in a chat box, trying to restrain yourself, and still you send that line: you don't understand me at all. You know it will damage the relationship, and yet you do it anyway. Did you truly have no control? Or in that second, did you choose the most familiar, most effortless, and most dangerous version of yourself? You think emotion is a gust of wind, it arrives and blows you away. But what if the truth is that emotion is only the surface ripple, and what truly determines where you drift is the interpretation key you press inside your mind each time? Do you interpret it as humiliation, or as feedback? Do you interpret it as abandonment, or as a boundary that needs to be redrawn? Do you interpret yourself as a victim, or as an observer who is upgrading? If life is a river, your emotions are just splashes. The pebble that actually redirects the current often lands where you can't see it, right in the moment you call, just a little loss of control. You may be using countless tiny choices to slowly write your future into a corner. Next, we're going to do something uncomfortable. We're going to split that 1 second open and look at who is pressing the button for you, because once you see it, you'll understand. Your life hasn't been rewritten by emotion, it's been quietly stolen by quantum-level choices. You think you failed at emotion management, but the real mechanism is more like a hidden automatic program. Every time a trigger appears, you don't feel first, you interpret first, you don't look at facts first, you put on a mask first, you don't choose yourself first, you betray yourself first. What you call losing control often happens in a brutally short chain: trigger, interpretation, identity, verdict, emotional explosion, impulsive behavior. And the problem is step 2, interpretation, because you're not looking at the world with your eyes, that you're looking at it through old wounds. Jung would say, this is your shadow at work. The shadow isn't bad. It's simply the part of you that got forced into a dark room: anger, jealousy, grievance, desire, control, the vulnerability that wants love but doesn't dare ask for it. The price of locking it away is this: it will burst out of the basement at the moment you least expect, and take over your hands and your mouth. And the reason you locked the shadow away is because you learned a survival strategy early on: the mask. A mask isn't hypocrisy. It's a role that once got rewarded. As a child, you were praised for being good, recognized for enduring, called mature for being considerate, so slowly you traded your real needs for a safer image. You started believing, if I don't trouble anyone, I won't be abandoned, that if I perform well enough, I'll be worthy of love. And that creates the most invisible form of self-betrayal. You say, it's fine, while you're bleeding inside. You say, whatever, while you're holding down an explosion. You say, I understand you, while you're deleting yourself. That's why you keep collapsing in intimate relationships. When the other person turns cold, you're not hearing that sentence, you're hearing your old script, I don't matter. So you start chasing, clinging, proving, testing, do you love me or not? Are you going to leave? You think you're searching for security. But what you're really doing is using control to cancel out the fear you don't dare face. I'm afraid I'm not worth loving. That's also why you keep burning out at work. When someone corrects you, you're not hearing feedback, you're hearing a verdict, I'm not good enough. So you attack yourself, over-explain, overcompensate, sometimes even apologizing first when you weren't wrong. You think you're becoming stronger, but what you're actually doing is handing your value over to random external evaluation. Even in parenting, you can get hijacked by the same mechanism. When a child cries and screams, rage rises instantly, not because the child is too annoying, but because a voice that has been suppressed for a long time is screaming inside you, why did no one hold me like that? When you lash out at your child, many times you're lashing out at the past version of you, the one no one protected. Do you see it? So-called emotional loss of control isn't because you lack reason. It's because in that instant, you stepped into a default observer position, the victim, the pleaser, the rejected one, the one who must control everything. In that moment, you claim that identity, and emotion rushes out like a loyal soldier to fight on its behalf. And here's the paradox, the more you try to be an emotionally stable person, the more likely you become an emotionally explosive person, because what you call stability is often suppression. And suppression isn't disappearance, it's accumulation. The harder you try to seal the shadow airtight, the more violently it will break the door down when it matters most. Kierkegaard would remind you, a person's real task isn't to figure out what happened in the world, but to decide what kind of self they will be within it. In other words, events are just events. The choice you make in that second, who am I, it determines what you feel, what you do, and where you end up, but the scariest part isn't that this mechanism exists. The scariest part is that without you even noticing, it has already used countless quantum-level choices to quietly rewrite your destiny, making you love the wrong people again and again, lose yourself again and again, and push your life toward the same ending again and again. Imagine a person, we'll call her the stable mask. Since childhood, she's been praised for being emotionally mature. Not crying is called being considerate, enduring is called being strong, not bothering anyone is called having good manners. So she learned a high-level performance. Her face is always calm, her nervous system always tense. Her social skin is like fine porcelain, smooth to the touch, but hollow when you tap it. She's like a house that looks brightly lit, the living room is spotless, the curtains perfectly arranged, the music soft. But in the basement there's a dark room whose door is never locked, and inside it are all the things she doesn't allow herself to have: anger, grievance, longing, jealousy, the vulnerability that wants to be held. She puts the same label on all of it, shouldn't. Whenever life brings even a small trigger, a moment of impatience, a slight neglect, a comparison, that crack in the dark room door trembles. She hears it, but she immediately braces the door with her body. Don't be so sensitive. Don't make a big deal out of it. Be classy. Be stable. And then she keeps going on stage, keeps the makeup on, keeps the mask on, but the cruelest part of fate is this: masks get rewarded, shadows get punished. The more she endures, the more people say she's easy to get along with. The less she asks for, the more the relationship looks conflict-free. The more she flattens herself, the more the world calls her convenient. So she becomes more and more skilled at stuffing the real self back into the dark room. She thinks that's called growing up, until one day, a trigger arrives that's ridiculously small. Maybe it's a partner saying casually, "Can you stop being so exhausting?" Maybe it's a coworker saying, "Don't be so emotional." Maybe it's her child crying non-stop when she's at her most drained. Or maybe it's nothing more than coming home and seeing a sink full of dirty dishes. In that moment, her system crashes. She doesn't suddenly become bad. The basement door simply can't be held shut anymore. The dark room floods upward like a wave, the sting of old wounds, the resentment of being ignored, the rage of long-term suppression, the pain of wanting to be seen and not being seen. Everything surges into her throat, her fingers, her tone. She starts saying things she doesn't recognize in herself. She starts doing things she can't explain. She collapses in front of the people closest to her, and afterward she uses an even thicker mask to patch the damage, apologizing, pleasing, explaining, buying gifts, pretending nothing happened, like repainting a wall over ruins. You think it's just one argument, one emotional explosion, but the real consequence is that the curve of her destiny quietly bends. Her relationships start to tilt out of balance. She keeps attracting two kinds of people. One type enjoys how good she is, but can't handle how real she is. The other type is drawn to her repression and uses hot and cold behavior to test her boundaries. The more she tries to hold on to love, the more she turns herself into a bomb waiting to go off. Everyone gets tired, especially her. Her body starts sounding the alarm: insomnia, stomach pain, tight chest, binge eating, unexplained heart palpitations. She gets medical checkups and the results say, nothing major. But she knows, the problem isn't in the organs, it's in that dark room. Her life choices shrink. She doesn't dare ask for what she needs. Doesn't dare refuse. Doesn't dare express dissatisfaction. She has only two options left: keep performing, or collapse completely. So she becomes a living paradox. The more she tries to be stable, the more unstable she becomes. The more she wants to be loved, the more people want to run. And now I want to throw a judgment in front of you, one that might sting. Real collapse isn't an argument, or a breakup, or getting laid off. It's the day you suddenly realize you don't even know who you've been living for. Does she still have a chance to turn things around? Yes, but only if, first, you're willing to stop being the stable mask, and for the first time step onto the stage with your shadow. You have to allow yourself, in certain moments, to be someone who's not so easy to get along with. The most important courage you'll ever have in this life may not be controlling your emotions better. It may be this: stop trading a mask for a sense of safety, because you think you're fighting emotion, but what you're really fighting is the fact that you don't dare admit you made a choice in that second. You keep saying, "I just couldn't help it, I'm just too sensitive." It sounds like explanation, but it's actually you handing the steering wheel away. Real freedom never happens when you're calm. It happens the moment emotion rises, when you're willing to admit, "I can choose." This is the counterintuitive core principle of quantum-level choice. Emotion is not the enemy. It's a signal. Losing control is not a disaster. It's the moment your default identity lights up. Your job isn't to put out the fire. It's to turn on the light, to see clearly who just took over inside you, to move from controlling the outside world to adjusting your inner narrative/identity. You don't need big philosophies. You need a set of executable, reboot moves. Here are 5 you can start today. 1. Practice naming the emotion. Instead of debating it next time emotion surges, don't rush to explain or prove the other person wrong. First, say something calmly inside your mind. This isn't reality. My ignored mode just activated. Or my not good enough mode is grabbing the mic. You'll notice a change. Once you can name it, it's no longer completely you. It shifts from "this is who I am" to "this is a state I'm experiencing." It's a small step, but it's the first rope that pulls you out of autopilot. 2. Practice not explaining. Pull your energy back from pleasing. Have you done this before? You make a decision, and then write a long paragraph of justification. Terrified people will misunderstand you as not good enough or not considerate enough. Next time, say only one sentence. This is my most honest choice right now. Then stop. Don't add more. Don't defend. Don't beg to be understood. You'll feel nervous. Guilty. Like a bad person. Good. That's you leaving the old identity, the one who survives by being liked. 3. Write a "Stop Betraying Yourself" letter. Open the dark room for the first time. Take 15 minutes. Write down moments from the past year when you betrayed your intuition to avoid causing trouble. You didn't want to go, but you still went. You felt uncomfortable, but you still smiled. You wanted to say no, but you still agreed. You were hurt, but you still said, "It's fine." At the end, add one promise. From today on, I will no longer sacrifice myself to maintain other people's comfort. This isn't motivational fluff. It's your declaration of taking the power of choice back from the outside world. 4. A small experiment. Step on stage with your shadow. You don't need to suddenly become sharp. You only need one safe practice. In a low-risk situation, express one real truth you normally swallow. For example, a friend cancels last minute. You don't say, "No worries." You say, "I feel a bit disappointed. Next time, please tell me earlier." A coworker tries to dump responsibility on you. You don't smile and absorb it. You say, "That's not within my role. Let's clarify the boundary." Your body will tighten, like a baby taking its first steps. Don't rush to make yourself comfortable. Right now you're training a new identity, a real person. 5. Stretch the quantum second. Delay 10 seconds before you respond. All the turning points of your destiny are hidden inside that 1 second. Your job is to stretch that second into 10. When you want to snap back, post a long message, or dig up old history immediately, do one thing. Inhale. Count to 10. Ask yourself, if I wasn't that old identity, what would I do? You don't have to do it perfectly. You only have to take the steering wheel back once. Inside those 10 seconds, now you might ask, can these things really change destiny? Yes. Because destiny isn't one grand decision. It's the sum of countless tiny, quantum-level choices you make every day. You used to choose the mask every time, so life became more and more like the mask script. Starting today, you begin choosing truth, and your life will slowly bend toward a different track. Here's a declaration you need to remember: your "you can turn it around" statement. When you stop trading a mask for safety, and start trading truth for respect, your life trajectory will quietly begin to curve in another direction. But then the question comes, what is that real direction line? What is the ultimate self-position you're meant to stand in for this one life? You should be able to see it now. What you call losing control of your emotions was never an accident. It's more like a signal, reminding you that you've returned to an old observer position, the identity that writes you as, "I have to please to be lovable. I have to be perfect to be safe." And the ultimate insight is both brutal and liberating. What shapes your life isn't the size of your emotion, but who you choose to claim yourself as in the second that emotion rises. Jung said something razor-sharp in meaning: until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. You think fate is outside, who you meet, what happens, how you're judged. But the real machinery of fate is inside, your automatic interpretations, your habitual identity verdicts. That's the unconscious signing for you. Kierkegaard goes even harder: a person's task isn't to figure out what the world is, but to decide what kind of self they will be in the world. The world will always throw ambiguity, misunderstanding, coldness, collisions at you. You can't control the randomness outside. But you can control one thing: will you keep catching the ball with the old identity? And that ancient hermetic anchor is like a key, as within, so without. Where you stand internally determines the destiny curve you walk externally. If you keep choosing the mask on the inside, you'll keep attracting people who need you to perform. If you begin choosing truth, you'll slowly meet people who respect truth, even if, at first, it feels lonely and unfamiliar. So here's a memorable line: treat it like your life's quantum switch. You are not someone dragged by emotion. You are the observer who decides who you are when emotion appears. Now let's return to the beginning, cinematically. It's still 1 a.m. It has still that word, whatever. Your chest still tightens, emotion still comes. But this time you don't rush to prove, don't rush to interrogate, don't rush to throw yourself back into the old script. You pause for 10 seconds, you name it, ignored mode activated. You swallow the question that's about to shoot out, and replace it with a boundary that's more truthful: I need a clearer response, or I start to feel anxious. Are you willing to talk seriously? Cut to the meeting room. You're interrupted again, your face still heats up, but you stop translating it as, "I'm not good enough." You do one thing: straighten your back and say, "I'm not finished, give me 20 seconds. No drama. No explosion. Just you, in that second, standing in a different identity." Then the camera pulls back to your life. It won't become perfect overnight, but from that day on, it begins to bend, slightly, toward a different direction, like a trajectory you've recalibrated. You'll slowly realize, you're not getting better at controlling emotions. You're stopping the betrayal of yourself. And once you stand on your own side again, you can't go back to a life of constantly deleting yourself. You can keep performing. Where you can choose truth, even in one small situation. No one can make that decision for you, but once you do, your destiny begins to rewrite itself, not through miracles, but through each small, steady, quantum-level choice. And now I'll throw the questions back to you. Tell me in the comments. 1. What situation most often triggers your emotional loss of control? In that moment, who do you usually claim yourself as, to? What emotion control methods have you tried that didn't work? Was it because you were avoiding a deeper identity choice? 3. If you only do one small move today, where will you start reclaiming that 10-second power of choice? Naming. Not explaining. Writing a "Stop Betraying Yourself" letter. Or one experiment of stepping on stage with your shadow. I'll read your stories carefully in the comments. And I'll also pick a few typical, quantum choice moments, to help you break down exactly where, on which second, you handed your life back to an old identity, and how you can choose differently next time.